How many among you have attended Right Club previously? Go. Okay, a lot of new people. A lot of new people. You just learned a valuable lesson right there, which is if anyone from the Right Club stage asks anything of you, you must make a verbal response. Clear? Clear. Yes. I'm going to give you another chance. Are we clear? Yes. That right there is a good baseline. Okay? Right Club is the greatest competitive reading series in the world. That's not me talking, that's science. It is 3 bouts of 2 opposing writers, 2 opposing ideas. They are given an assignment in advance. They get 7 minutes to make their case. And you, the Right Club audience, the venerable, discerning Right Club audience, decide who is the victor. Now, if there is a Right Club performer who is still speaking at 7 minutes, this is what they will hear. They must stop speaking immediately and leave the stage. Are we clear? Yes. That's good. That's good. I like the fact that that was loud and quick. Did you like that too? Yes! Excellent. All right. In a regular Right Club show, a portion of proceeds go to charities of the winner's choosing. But since this is a special, ultra special, limited edition, Poetry Foundation edition of, I'm sorry, this show typically takes place in a tavern. Like, and when I say tavern, I don't know if you've ever been to the Hideout, but we're talking about like hole in the wall, dirt baggedy, legendary, but really just scraping the bottom of the barrel kind of tavern. So this cathedral is just totally disorienting. But as ever, why do we fight? In addition for the few dollars that we give to charity, right here. This is called the loving cup of deathless fucking glory. That's right. That's right. We have worthy combatants hugging the back wall. We have, there they are. There they are in the manner of Mouseketeers for some reason. We have Emily Rose, we have Lindsay Moscato, we have Patrick Carberry, we have Bilal Dardai, and we have Dana Norris and myself, Ian Belknap. That's all right. That's all right. All right, that little bit of tentativeness right there, burn it, okay? Get rid of that. If you have the impulse to make noise, make it. Understood? Yes. Good. Okay, in order, so that you know this is all on the up and up, this is strictly on the level, we need a blue ribbon panel of volunteer judges who will sit up here, please, in the reserved special seats that have, wait for it, a piece of paper affixed to them. I need, please, 3 volunteers. There, you, madam, please come up. You, sir? Come on up. I need 1 more. Over there, you, sir. Come on up. You were first, so please tell them your name.
Lee.
Lee. And?
Kirk.
And?
Mike.
Mike. Mike, that chair does not have a piece of paper on it. There you go. There you go. Okay, so are you guys, do you have the wisdom of Solomon?
Yes.
That was correct, right there. So I'll ask it again. Do you all have the wisdom of Solomon?
Yes.
Do you have the nerves of a safecracker?
Yes.
And are you really, really judgmental?
Oh, yes.
Good. Okay. You're going to have to put that on hold because what you're here to do is assess the response of the audience. Your personal preferences don't matter. Okay? Okay? All right, so last bit of business is, oh damn, where'd my cards go? I always forget something, always. They're in the other room. Talk amongst yourselves for just a second, but listen to me very carefully. Don't get too unruly, because I'm gonna be back in like 40 seconds. Less, like 11, okay? Count it down. All right. 11. Another way that we can assess that this is all totally on the level is that Right Club bouts are in random order. I have in my hand 3 cards with the subjects of tonight's bouts, which is in keeping with the America theme of the Humanities Festival. As you can see, we're going to figure it all out tonight. America is going to get figured. It's going to get sorted right now, right here. So we have mountains versus prairies, liberty versus death, and north versus south. Okay, our judges are ready to go.
Yes.
Yes.
Right Club performers, are you ready to go?
Yeah!
Right Club audience, most critically, are you ready to go?
Yeah!
That's what I like to hear. All right. Our first bout will be, could you please pick the cards? Read it in a loud, clear voice.
Mountains versus prairies.
Mountains versus prairies. Doing battle for our first loving cup of deathless fucking glory are Lindsay Moscato and Dana Norris. Please welcome them to the stage. Now, in addition to the bouts being in random order, the combatants in a given bout must also be in non-predetermined order. Not random, non-predetermined. And what is the only way that science has determined that we determine the order of combatants? Rock, paper, scissors, that's correct. So in order for them to do this properly, we need to help them by counting it off in strict adherence to the Right Club protocol, which is as follows. 1, 2, 3, blam! Got it?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
All right, let's try it, shall we?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, blam! You guys throw on blam. In case you were wondering what blam was for. All right, are we ready to help them count it off? The first ever Right Club bout within the cathedral of the Poetry Foundation. All right, here we go. Ready? No, they can hear me. 1, 2, 3, blam! All right. I didn't see that. I was.
Rock,
The
scissors.
choice is yours.
I shall go second.
So I'll go second.
She'll go first.
You guys have to remind me that I have to use the mic in order to so that we get a good video, okay? Because I just want to scream at you.
Use the mic.
Thank you. Thank you, stranger. All right. One last thing. Typically, there is a very high-end, incredibly precise digital timer that would determine for us the passing of 7 minutes exactly. It's fucked up for whatever reason. I don't know what happened. But so here's how we're going to do this. And I learned this from our neighbors to the north. The show, Right Club, is now in 6 cities. It's in here, obviously, because where are we? It was born here out of this fevered mind. It's in Atlanta, it's in Los Angeles, it's in San Francisco, it's in Athens, Georgia, and it's now in Toronto. So when I say Right Club International, I'm not fucking around. Okay, I know it's Canada, but gotta start somewhere. So what we're gonna do is this. Since the highly priced digital timer is completely useless, I will look at my phone and I will do this. When there are 5 seconds remaining, I will go 5. And then what are you gonna do? No. That's good. I like your impulse and I like your enthusiasm. What we're gonna do is this. And I have to set the mic down, Anne, for a second. So I will count it down, and then when we reach 0, I will make this gesture. Okay? And the universally agreed upon response to this gesture is, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so let's try that, shall we? The protocol shall be. That is deeply satisfying. Okay. I'm turning off this microphone now because I don't want to talk during Dana Norris. Okay?
And I assume I'm here? That's where I need to be?
You're there.
Am I here?
Now, did I get this right? Are you Prairies?
I am Prairies.
You are Prairies.
I am
okay.
Prairies. That is true.
So
I
Dana
am
Norris,
the best of the two.
planting the seeds
What
of
did we
doubt
come here
already.
to do? To win. Yes, thank you. Exactly. So.
All right. So we have Dana Norris, Prairies. Dana Norris, are you ready?
I am ready.
Right Club audience, are you ready? Yeah! All right, Dana Norris, in 3, 2, 1, begin.
It's the longest car ride of my life. I am in the backseat of my grandparents' Lincoln Continental, sitting on the plush maroon upholstery. We are driving to Peru, Indiana, because it is the circus capital of America, and it is taking forever. I'm 9 years old. I don't even like circuses. I think they're creepy. But my grandparents have me for the weekend, and this is how they've decided to make a memory. So for 7 interminable hours, all I have is the back seat of their car, the static Indiana landscape, and a prairie home companion that they listen to over and over again on audio cassette tape. Now, Garrison Keillor is a practiced showman, and he possesses a melodic baritone that is one of the top 5 male voices in the universe, Ian Belknap's being 6th. And his stories of quiet fortitude aren't really entertaining when you're 9 years old. I mean, I would listen to his stories of men and women politely striving against life's injustices, only to be thwarted again and again by an unnamed, angry Norwegian god. And I would think, this is making me sad. My grandparents, though, loved it. They would smile and laugh and look back to me to make sure I was also enjoying the subtle Scandinavian humor. My grandparents got it, of course, because they had both grown up on farms in central Illinois. They were both the children of Swedish immigrants. They understood this prairie home companion because they had grown up in the prairie state. But neither of my grandparents, and neither a single individual for the past 4 generations has ever laid eyes on the American prairie. Garrison Keillor doesn't know shit about the prairie. He has never seen a prairie because the prairie does not currently exist. A prairie is not the land you see out of your window when you're driving down I-55. Those are farms. That's corn. That is not what I'm talking about. The prairie is a vast landscape without crops, without trees. It's grassland that stretches for 677,000 continuous miles across North America. 677,000 miles and miles without a tree or a bush or a single object for your mind to grab a hold of. All you see is grass, waving, rolling on all sides of you, the sky above, dense root-filled soil at your feet. There is no shelter. There is no wood with which to build a shelter. There is you, alone on the prairie, walking and walking and walking and never seeing anything but the endlessly stretching expanse of grass. Ecologically speaking, a prairie is a liminal space. It is a rest. It's a beat between barren earth and a dense forest. And left alone, a prairie will become a forest. But nature does not leave the prairie alone. Animals graze on the tops of the grass, and every fall, fires streak across the drying fields. They clear the underbrush, and they kill everything that does not belong. And then, from the ashes, the prairie bursts forth again, even more vibrant. A prairie must continually be destroyed, eaten and engulfed by flame in order to maintain itself. It balances on the edge of a knife. When European settlers to America first encountered this prairie, they were terrified. They built their homes on the edges of the prairie, up against the woods, because with woods you have trees and water and food, and a sense that life has edges and rules and can be managed. When you stare into the woods, your eyes have places to rest. There's a tree, there's a tree, there's a tree. On the prairie, there is no rest. To stare across it is to look into eternity. Americans don't do well with the concept of eternity. Those who first ventured out and dared to build solitary homes on the prairie reported experiencing a condition called Prairie Madness. Left alone in your shelter in the vast expanse month after month, wind whipping by you, snow blowing through the cracks in your cabin, the summer sun beating on you without mercy, hordes of insects feeding on you, and then in the fall, the fires come, tearing across the land from all sides with no escape. And even then, if it's a nice day, a pleasant 72 degrees, there is still, as Walt Whitman said, the limitless and lonesome prairie. These early Americans, faced with the unrelenting isolation and harshness of this environment, went insane. They did. They lost their minds. The prairie shows us there's no end, no beginning, no moment where our tiny footsteps resonate apart from this fleeting instant. And we as Americans do not like this feeling. So what do? We figured out how to take this thing that is so terrifying and we eliminate it. We do this in two ways. One, in 1837, a man in Grand Detour, Illinois named John Deere invented a steel-bladed plow. Before, we had only wooden plows, which worked well in forests but bounced off the prairie's densely tangled, root-filled soil. But now, we can plow a prairie. Two, in 1862, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Homestead Act, which offered 160 acres of land free to any person who promised to improve the land. The conversion of the prairie to farmland was so swift that in 1861, soldiers left their prairie homes to fight the Civil War, and when they returned in 1865, like that Pretender song, their prairie was gone. Close your eyes and think of America. Just think of an iconic image of America. You see oceans of grass waving us across the continent, beckoning us to cross from the Atlantic to the Pacific. But the prairie you see, long spaces without pause, is our collective memory of the prairie. We have since installed pauses. We have filled the prairie with our people and our plows and our farms and our railroads and our airports and our exurbs and our prefabricated homes and our Interstate 70s and our Denny's and our Ann Taylors. Garrison Keillor's prairie home is just, it's built on a gravesite. Today, 0.01% of the Illinois prairie remains. My husband has a job. He works at the Midewin Natural Tall Grass Prairie Preserve near Joliet. He spends 8 hours a day restoring a tiny patch of prairie land. He removes invasive species, cuts down trees, while bulldozers dig up irrigation trenches that were dug by farmers hundreds of years ago.
And just so it's official. All right. All right. That was Dana Norris. Give her another hand. Now, in order for you to make a fair assessment, you must retain every insight, every nuance, every turn of phrase that you just heard with perfect clarity and forget it all immediately, okay? So clear your mind and retain everything. Got it? Good. This is Lindsay Moscato
Hello.
for mountains.
Can I check my little mic-y first? How's this? Can you hear me? Okay.
Okay. So, again, this is going to be America sorted out. So this is for the American landscape. That's all that's going to be remaining after tonight, okay? Lindsay Moscato, are you ready?
I am ready.
Right Club audience, are you ready?
Yes!
All right, Lindsay Moscato, in 3, 2, 1, begin.
There have been a lot of great songs written about mountains. Ain't no mountain high enough. Took my love and took it down. Climbed a mountain and then I turned around. The shadow from the starlight is softer than a lullaby. Rocky Mountain High. I mean, I love prairies. If I had a house instead of a front lawn, I'd grow wild grass and those spiky purple flowers that bees like. But mountains, they inspire us, move us, hush us into awe and wonder. Have you ever flown over a mountain range? You're in seat 17D sipping tomato juice, because when else are you going to drink tomato juice? Pretending you're reading Sky Mall ironically, but maybe you kind of want a branding iron that monograms your steaks. And then the mountains make you look. This event is about America, but I'm thinking anyway of Kafka. You fall asleep on that airplane and you open your eyes, and instead of being curled against the cold plastic window on US Air Flight 383, you wake up as a mountain. You're far from the airplane, a tiny metal nothing to you now. It's buzzing west like a prairie bee. Eagles soar across the valley of your back, and the creeks and the rivers are your new bloodstream. You're far from home, that hot box, that shackle. Instead, you're here, a massive combination of geological forces. The imagination is powerful, you guys. It transports you. I once lived with a guy, Tim, we'll call him Tim, who was, at times, so angry at me that my body lifted out of itself. I could float away and be somewhere else. In the living room, while Tim raged about something, I imagined our hippie neighbors downstairs listening to Bob Dylan, the husband trimming oregano in the window box or something, and suddenly my earthly ghost was down there too, singing How Does It Feel with a mug of chrysanthemum tea. This was magical thinking. I wasn't downstairs with the neighbors. I was in my own living room, frozen by the shouting. Small and breathless and still, and wishing to be strong and to be bigger and louder. And before you think I was just an idiot kind of stuck in a Lifetime movie, listen, sometimes it was very super suck, but it was also very super fun. You know, like, for a long time, very super fun was winning the popular vote, but very super suck was winning the Electoral College, and neither of us knew what to do. We went for long walks around Chicago's quilted neighborhoods, stayed up all night at the Golden Apple, eavesdropping on the next booth over. He built me a bookshelf out of an old door and set up a tent in the living room so we could read in there and eat chicken wings. He had a leather jacket, ink black hair, green eyes that sparked against mine. He bit my lip when he kissed me. I knew when we met that our combination was dangerous, but I didn't care. I wanted this, something dangerous for once, the challenge and exhilaration of something unsafe, which is why young people fall in love. I love road trips. It's amazing I was never kidnapped as a child. All someone would have had to do is say, "Hey kid, get in the van. We're going down Route 66. Tim and I took a road trip once from Las Vegas to Chicago. We'd actually intended it to be a train trip, but here's what I learned about booking Amtrak from Las Vegas to Chicago. There is the more famous Las Vegas in Nevada and the completely unfamous Las Vegas in New Mexico. Only one of them has an Amtrak station, although Las Vegas NM and Las Vegas NV look pretty freaking similar when buying your tickets online. And if you're in Las Vegas, Nevada, attempting to board a train to Chicago, they will laugh in your face and say, "This happens all the time," and refund your ticket. And you will still need to get to Chicago. Tim was pissed. I was pissed that he was pissed. I rented a little silver Pontiac on my credit card, nothing to do but drive east, in silence, in anger at whose fault it was that Amtrak doesn't go to Nevada. Our little car looked pretty fast, but had the engine of a dustbuster and the shitty temperature controls of a Chicago apartment shower. I turned the knob on the AC a little to the left. He turned the knob on the AC a little to the right. He said I was super passive-aggressive, which was true. And I said he was just aggressive, which he refuted while pounding on the glove box. It was snowing by the time we got through Utah and into Colorado. Not like little bits of pretty snow, but school closing snow. Get me the hell out of here. Cars were ditching off to the sides, left and right. Wind tore through the silver Pontiac, now made of tinfoil apparently, and the kicked up slush blanked out the windshield. It was August. It was snowing in August. We weren't getting as far as we planned. We'd be late home, a missed day of work. If Tim distracted me and got us killed, I would freaking murder him. But then the car skidded right, and the brakes clicked, click, clicked. And when the skid stopped, we were still on the road. Miraculous. And we looked at each other. Tim took my hand. I loved him. I hated him. I wanted to die. I was totally invincible. Mountains are formed when two of the Earth's plates collide, and the pressure forces the crust to fold upward. If you want peace, if you won't collide, the Earth tells us, fine. Stay flat. Stay home. We eked out of the blizzard at last, and I finally pulled off the road at Vail, the silver car limping like a tin soldier. At the gas station, I leaned down the hood of the car, exhausted and blank, and Tim came up behind me with a surprise cup of hot coffee and a gas station ham sandwich wrapped in plastic. Yes, coffee grows in mountains, so vote for me if you like coffee. I held the coffee in one hand and the sandwich in the other and looked up at the rolling, hazy Rockies still close up on us. I watched my breath and the steam from the coffee rise and dance like a smoker's trail. I knew what was next, a hard stretch to be gritted out. The plains of Iowa, Nebraska, the cornfields and industrial farms, our former prairies, rode straight as a farm girl's teeth. And I dreaded it, because at this moment, the roadside in Vail, the air was crisp, the steam rose, I was so awake. We'd beaten the mountain range and now it was breathing around us, breathing our breath, a giant killer curled up and waiting. My whole life I'd been sleeping, until now, awake. Thank you.
In the interest of balance, coffee, which is amazing, does grow in the mountains, but I believe ham, which is also amazing, grows in the prairies. So that cancels out, I believe. All right, now is the time for our first decision. And believe me, the stakes, ladies and gentlemen, could not be higher. Because as we established earlier, we're going to figure out America tonight. So this is the landscape that we're going to be stuck with forever. So weigh your answer well. Understood?
Yes.
Okay. So here's how this works. A lot of you are new, so I don't want to frighten anyone again. So I will hold my hand over Dana Norris's head, and I will say, who among you believes that Dana Norris was the victor in this bout? And go. And when I say go, you make a requisite level of noise indicating how much you think she is the victor, and I will do the same for Lindsay Moscato. Understood? Yes. Hang on. There's been a show of hands from the judges section. Yes, Lee? You are not to make noise. Here's what you must do. You must stand and you must face the audience. And let me tell you why. Because a couple of times in really hotly contested Right Club bouts, there's been a little pocket of loudness right by the judges. And that pocket of loudness has swayed the decision in a direction I disagreed with. And when you dispense a title to yourself, and that title is Overlord, you don't much care for being disputed. So, what you need to do is take your feet, please, face the audience. All right. Are you guys ready? This is exciting. I'm excited. You excited? Yeah. I think I'm more excited than they are. Yeah. It's bookish excitement. All right. Are we ready to make our choice? Okay, here we go. Who among you believes that Dana Norris was the victor in this bout? And go! That was a high degree of compliance, and I appreciate that. Judges, you have that noise level with the little needle indicator in your mind? Okay, good. So remember that with perfect clarity. And right club audience, who among you believes that Lindsay Moscato was the victor in this bout? And go! All right, judges confer. We need some kind of music for this moment. You know what I mean? Maybe you guys should do the Jeopardy theme or something for us. All together. Like the same song, at least the same song. We have a decision?
Yes.
Are you the spokesperson for the jury? The judges, sorry. And what is your decision, please, Kurt?
Lindsay.
Lindsay Moscato is the victor in this bout. It is my pleasure to confer upon you the first of the evening loving cup of deathless fucking glory. Well fought. Well fought. All right. Are you guys ready for another bout? Yes. Good. Does anyone else want to throw a hat at Kirk? All right. What is your name, madam?
Patty.
Patty, would you please pick a card? Would you read it in a loud, clear voice, please?
North versus south.
North versus south. All right, now I think history has demonstrated that the stakes in this bout are pretty high. So we have here Emily Rose and Patrick Carberry. All right. Now, okay. Do we remember the protocol?
Yes.
I would say that about a third of us seem to remember the protocol. Do we remember the protocol? Yes. Okay, good. You guys remember the protocol?
I reminded him, yeah.
It's blam. You throw on blam. Got it? Okay. Let's count it off with them, shall we?
Yes.
Sorry, that was meant to be a slightly rhetorical, shall we? Sorry. 1, 2, 3, blam! Smash! The choice is yours, Mr. Carberry. Second. Emily Rose will be going first, ladies and gentlemen. And I have this correct. You are advocating on behalf of South. Is that right?
I am indeed.
All right. Now, set aside what I take to be your likely Yankee sensibilities. And you have to decide on the merits. Understood? Yes. That was not rhetorical. Understood? Yes. That just never ceases to tickle me. I've done this show like 30 times, and I just love that every time.
You're drunk with power.
I am. I'm hammered with power. All right, Emily Rose, are you ready?
I am.
Right club audience? Yes. Ababa? Are you ready? Yes. All right, good. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, begin.
The first time I ever traveled below the Mason-Dixon line, I was 22. I was there for a dear friend's wedding. All I knew was that the South was always hot, even in September. Supposedly, people were polite and held doors for some mythic creature called a lady. I imagine flowered floppy hats everywhere and bolo ties like Hawaiian leis. I was raised like a good Yankee with bleeding heart values by well-meaning hippies on the north side of Chicago. I understood that the South equaled racist, redneck, shotgun-toting crazy people in hats and chaps. The South brought us sweet tea, tobacco, oil, and slavery. Innovations like cotton gins and lynch mobs. Amazing. Where would this country be without biscuits, gravy, and centuries of slave trade? I was terrified to be there, but there I was, a nice Jewish girl in Charleston, South Carolina. I mean, aside from the rampant and sublimated racism, it was one of the most beautiful cities I have ever seen. Looking at the architecture, the amazing gardens and ocean views, I could almost ignore the centuries of slavery and brutality. It helped that I rarely saw a black person, other than at the Applebee's, where they had the decency to sit in a separate dining room so the rest of us white folk could enjoy our endless soup and salad in safety. There were other strange things aside from the staunch whiteness of this trip. For instance, there was a golf cart parked outside of a bar. This bar, under state law, could only pour mixed drinks from tiny airplane minibar-sized bottles. There are microscopic bioluminescent organisms in the ocean that glitter and spark in the dark when you run your hands through the water. The man who always told me that I was too sensitive cried harder than his new wife during his vows. None of this more strange than a white woman trying to talk about race, but here we are. That trip made me so uncomfortable that a decade later, I can still picture the sides of the street as though they were labeled black on the left, white on the right. It's all I thought about on the plane ride home to Chicago, one of the most segregated cities in the United States. What? Wait, what? Check your notes, Google it. In 1959, the US Commission on Civil Rights named Chicago the most segregated city in the US, and from 1920 until 2000, the census maps look almost the same. Growing up, I was supposed to be afraid of the south side of Chicago, painted as a gangland and den of crack dealers. My hippie parents are liberals. My mother met Nelson Mandela and Bobby Seale. Me, bastion of liberal Jewish progressive thought, I had no idea. Thank God some of my best friends are black, because they told me. I mean, aside from the rampant and sublimated racism, this is one of the most beautiful cities I have ever seen. Looking at the architecture, the amazing parks and lake views, I could almost ignore the centuries of segregation and racial tensions. There are things we don't like to see, mirrors we refuse to face, things that we push down, the ugliest truth, but I can't possibly be a racist. I'm Jewish, after all. I don't go to the South Side because it's far and inconvenient, not because I'm white, not because I don't belong there, right? At least Charleston had the decency to present its segregation openly in the strip mall low-budget dining chains. They have the decency not to hide their avoidance of each other. I am amazed how long I'd gone without noticing what was here and how quickly I saw it there. Don't panic. I'm not calling you a racist. Yet. Not exactly, anyway. Being part of a racist system doesn't make you a racist exactly, but the prime real estate is north, and the no-go zone for modern white settlers in Chicago is forever the South. It's amazing how little time I spend thinking or even caring about the division, how easily I accept the racial makeup in the city. I know and recognize how white I am able to be here. This isn't comfortable. In fact, it makes me wildly uncomfortable when I drive my best friend to Chatham and I check my locks. Is Chicago the new South under the guise of progress? It's not like we segregate our schools or anything. We just keep the black and brown people all together in one place so they can go to school together. I mean, our first black president was from here, right? We elected him senator. How can we be racist? That's not fair. A recent study has pointed out that the all-white neighborhood no longer exists in Chicago. Hooray! We're progressing. My black friends will be so proud. The ports of Charleston were responsible for 40 to 60% of all Africans brought into the U.S. as slaves. We expect this of the South. We know that the South is the birthplace of racism, right? I'm supposed to find racial tension where they still believe Confederate flags are a symbol of freedom, but race isn't a geographical matter anymore despite the history. It's not North and South. Few of us even know where the Mason-Dixon line runs anymore. For us Yankees, South may remain forever synonymous with backward values, big hats, and racists named Jeb or Joe Bob. But let's not get too comfortable up here. At least in the South, they have a guilty history instead of some blind, back-patting progressive pride of the North. There is work to be done. There are mirrors to face, no matter how ugly that reflection. Being from a historically progressive region does not make you exempt from a racist system any more than being from the South automatically makes you a redneck racist. Growing up in the North, I was raised to believe in progress. Inequality is a basic human right. It's not easy to believe that segregation is alive and well in this city I love. Being white is easier in every part of America. Being face to face with white privilege will never be comfortable. It's gonna feel as unnatural as a Jewish Yankee in Charleston, but it is necessary. Maybe the most necessary. And if you ignore it, the South wins.
With seconds to spare. Okay. As I was sitting back there watching the show, I would like you to do this mental exercise, okay? Come on up, Patrick. Imagine that these floor-to-ceiling walls of books behind us are in flames, but they're coming to no harm, okay? I just feel like that would be a better backdrop for what's going on right now. All right? All right. So, once again, retain every syllable of what you just heard and clear your mind, okay?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. All right. Patrick Carberry for North. Are you ready, sir?
Yes.
All right.
Almost.
So in the style of Patrick, when I ask you guys if you're ready, you got to say you are in some kind of voice.
Yes.
Okay? Yes.
Ready.
Okay. All right. Patrick is ready. Right, club audience? Yes. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Patrick Carberry for North in 3, 2, 1, begin.
The 4 youths of Estuary Estates stood on the southern edge of a 2-mile cornfield, the legendary 2-mile cornfield in which old Mr. Burley's son was lost, or eaten by rats, or frozen, or killed by a sentient scarecrow. He was also disgruntled. The death depends on who you ask. The group wanted to become their own legend. They wanted to take the field, to claim it, to enter and leave it calmly. Thomas Miller, the blondest of the group, had recently found an ornate silver compass in his crawl space, and they were planning on using Thomas's navigation to make their way through. It didn't seem to matter that Thomas had no understanding of how a compass worked. It probably didn't matter because he didn't tell them, because he didn't know that he didn't know how a compass worked. Jenny Owens, the group's only and consequently most attractive girl, said, "Let's go, pussies," as she waded her way into the cornfield. Thomas looked down and saw that the N was directly ahead of them and said, "That's it, that's north, just keep walking straight ahead." It didn't occur to him that the little wobbly needle meant anything at all. People like to think that north is constant and at a fixed location at the top of our planet. But neither is true. No candy-striped pole exists. Compasses are so affected by regional geomagnetic fields that they almost never point directly to true north. And even if they did point there, to true north, that place isn't at the exact tippy top of the planet. The Earth tilts. The magnetic fields don't. Once the foursome had been walking for 15 minutes, the oldest and a brash and brazen boy named Brad Tull suggested that they stop, spin around, and then continue without the aid of the compass. Thomas and Jenny agreed, because what good is conquering something without doing so with audacity? The youngest, by 8 months, Ricky Hernandez, wasn't sure, so Brad grabbed Ricky's hat and chucked it up and over some corn stalks. Ricky couldn't find the hat. They all spun around and kept walking. There is a true north, a top to this girthy magnetic pole. That was a penis joke. But it is inconstant. It shifts over time. In 1600, the Canucks hosted it on Melville Island. By 1900, it had traveled down through King William's Island and over to some other snowy region of Nunavut, which is in Canada. Since then, it's traveled a straight line out into the Arctic Sea. It shifts by about 55 kilometers per year, which is about 34 miles. That's 32 miles more than the cornfield that these four were lost in. After 2 hours of walking, when the sun set and the air reddened the tips of the group's ears, Ricky broke down and said, "Okay, guys, let's just use the compass now." Thomas pulled it out, and the little silver end pointed straight ahead, so he said, "It's still this way." After another 2 hours of walking, they came upon Ricky's hat dangling from a cornstalk like a gentleman had hung it up after a long day at the law office. "Bullshit," said Brad. "It's fucking freezing, and this is bullshit." Not only is true north not a single place on the planet, it's moving. The planet is moving. And so the magnetic fields are inconstant, and the whole Earth swings on an axis, and that whole shit show rockets at 100,000 kilometers per hour as we circle a flaming gas ball like this. North is like a cell on my fingertip right now. North means fucking nothing. North is not set. Thomas looked at the compass. He saw the little N and looked forward. That's north. He was now less confident. It says we're still going north. And as soon as the words formed in his mouth and hit the cold air, he realized how dumb he was. That N didn't point north, that it was the needle, the red-tipped needle he'd been ignoring. Jenny looked too and saw the little magnetic pointer wavered to the left. Thomas saw that Jenny saw. "Wait," he said. "It's this way." He moved the compass to correct the bearing. "I don't want to die in the corn," Ricky said. "I don't fucking believe you," Brad said. Jenny, who had not taken her eye off the needle, said, "Well, Brad, unless you're going to drop trow and use your dick like a divining rod, I suggest we keep moving forward." "Lead away, Thomas." Not only is the planet tilting and spinning and orbiting, but the universe is also constantly expanding, which means we are moving forward, tilting, spinning, orbiting, and moving forward in space like this. Just like for infinity, for forever, moving forward. When Thomas walked in his front door, that took a lot out of me. His mother asked him where he'd been. He said that they were playing Warhammer at Jenny's, which his mother believed because she had no reason not to. After a bit, he asked what actually happened to Mr. Burley's son. His mother said, "Oh, honey, Mr. Burley was an asshole. I don't think anyone would ever spend enough time with him to make a son." "Oh," said Thomas. "Well, what's a divining rod?" North is real, but we simplify it. We think of it as a set-in-stone concept, but that idea is made up. People made up the idea that there's this constant thing to which we can point, to which we can anchor ourselves. We made it up to feel better, to help us walk in a straight line, and not to panic about the wilderness around us. And it does, it helps north. The idea of a constant north, a rock solid, helps us to feel secure, helps us to believe that if we ever get lost at sea, we can find our way home. Or more abstractly, the idea of a constant is what allows us to believe that our childhood home will always be there, even though we are well aware of the encroaching strip malls and strip clubs. To believe in a cloud world where we will meet our smiling grandparents who will tell us that they definitely have not been watching us have sex. Yes, north exists in the sense that there are magnetic fields, and that those magnetic fields orient in a particular way. Balls.
Balls. You did get the balls, finally.
Patrick Carberry. Don't sway the audience. All right. Judges, take your feet. I feel like he's hiding a gun or something under the coat. He's concealing something. All right. Judges, are you ready to make your assessment of the audience's response? And remember, your personal preferences do not enter into it. Okay. Right, club audience, are you ready to make your decision? Yes. Who among you believes that Emily Rose was the victor in this bout? And go! Okay. Judges, you have that uncoiled in your brain? Good. One of them does. Right, club audience, who among you believes that Patrick Carberry was the victor in this bout? And go! Judges confer. Decision? What is your decision, please?
Emily Rose, the South.
Emily Rose is the victor. So, because of that decision, we're all Southerners now. Well played. Well played.
Give me my cup.
Right, sorry. It's not merely a cup. It's the loving cup of deathless fucking glory. Congratulations. All right. And now we have one final bout this evening, which, Madam, would you read that, please?
Liberty versus death.
Liberty versus death. Yes, that's all right. I know, this is frightening, this one. The stakes literally could not be higher. Bilal Dardai, everyone. And I am, of course, Ian Belknap, and okay. I'm going off mic so that my hands will be free and I can win at rock, paper, scissors, okay? Do we remember the protocol?
Yes!
Remember the protocol?
I remember the protocol.
Before we begin, how many times have you done Right Club previously?
Twice.
Twice? Mm-hmm. Have you ever lost?
I have not.
Right, he's undefeated. I myself have done Right Club 32 times. I also am undefeated. No. I lose all the time. But I don't let that defeat me. All right, are we ready to count it up? All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, blam! Snap! You'll go first, sir.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
All right, hang on.
Yep.
Back with you all. Okay, here we go. Oh, hang on. Reset. Okay. The phone is ready. Bilal Dardai, are you ready?
I am ready.
Right Club audience, are you ready? Yes! All right, Bilal Dardai for Liberty. In 3, 2, 1, begin.
It is easy and perhaps even fashionable at this point to be cynical. Liberty, yes, blah, 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 yada, yada, reflexive eye roll. A concept that has by now been given all the attention of a Rottweiler puppy's favorite football. Chased and shaken and tossed and pounced upon and gnawed and gnawed and gnawed and gnawed. A concept kept in the shoulder holsters of every gunslinger slapping leather in campaign season, which is no longer a season, but a stew. An event that sits on the stove at all times, kept on simmer or boil or unattended fire hazard. Liberty, and it is not even the most potent word for itself. No, that would be freedom. Freedom is the word that conjures eagles and summer skies filled with fireworks of a younger, saner Mel Gibson with his face half painted and the passion of Scotland at his back. Liberty. That is a word for businesses and organizations now, a calling card to let it be known that Americans are involved in the enterprise. Liberty is the word you use to precede mutual. It is the word you use before auto wreckers. What you are left with then is an idea that's lost most of its meaning and power, an idea operating at a fraction of its potential, but which must, for appearances, act as though everything is status quo, a fundamental notion of society hiding its cancer diagnosis under elaborate cosmetics. Liberty derives its potency from the attention of the people most likely to enjoy it. But when you've had something thrust in your face for so long, the natural response is to stop looking at it directly. But keep it in your sideways glance for a moment. Allow me to present a tangent. There are several versions of this story, but this is the one I know. A great Greek king, usually Theseus, labyrinth conqueror, minotaur slayer, Theseus has a wooden ship. And every time he docks this ship at a certain port, several planks are taken off the ship and replaced with new planks. And this ritual goes on for months, for years, until finally every original piece of wood from the ship of Theseus has been replaced with a new piece of wood. But then the shipbuilders, they gather up all of the original pieces of wood, and using that wood, they create a second ship of Theseus. And the question then asked by Aristotle and Thomas Hobbes and other philosophers is this: which of these ships is really the ship of Theseus? Now, while you ponder that question later over cocktails and skewered shellfish, remember also this. After every 10 years or so, almost every cell in your body has also been replaced with newer cells, nearly every cell except those in your brain and half the ones in your heart. So the larger existential question is whether or not you are really the same person you used to be, or if you are simply a series of wooden ships manned for a lifetime by the same ragtag crew of characteristics and consequences, sailors bound to your body and occasionally thrown overboard by those evenings spent with 5 of your friends and an obscene amount of whiskey. Which brings us back, elliptically, I admit, to the question of liberty, the worth and necessity thereof, which cannot accurately be measured unless you're also taking stock of that from which you are taking your liberty in the first place. The pulsing radioactive core of liberty is choice, and the act of making choices is the act of defying that choices have already been made for you. You will not stop death. You will not stop pain. You will never, on your own, stop tyranny. Even the idealists among you are realist enough to grasp that. But you will also not enter the world as a mere lump of proteins and chemical processes and simply stay a mere lump of proteins and chemical processes until those proteins and processes cough and disintegrate, then renew, but then until they are simply unable. Liberty lets you seize reality by the lapels and say to it, yeah, I know what you are. I do not care. This is my time. You are an ocean, but I am a ship. I am a ship of kings. I will harness the wind and epic force of my own desire, and I will make a map of you that others will spend their lives learning how to read. You will shred my sails with storm and leviathan, but I was the one who ordered disembark. And that is what liberty is. That is what liberty does. Liberty does not have to win the fight, because liberty is the fight. Thank you.
Could you please, so that we all know that it's on the up and up, serve as my timekeeper? Hang on. Blow dart eye, everybody. I think he kind of kicked ass, and he did it in 4:48, which is pretty daunting to me. So, all right, hang on, I'm still the host. So, I will do it like this. Ian Belknap, are you ready? Now I'm a combatant. Yes! I am fucking ready! All right. Right Club audience, are you ready?
Yes!
Ian Belknap for death. In 3, 2, 1, begin.
If you were to reanimate the corpse of your civics lessons, you would no doubt recall that Patrick Henry famously said, "Give me liberty or give me death." We think. Given our context for tonight's show, a festival in celebration of whatever the humanities are, in this temple celebrating a literary form nobody cares about, I'm ascribing to each of you an extraordinarily high degree of egg-headedness. As such, I shall operate on the assumption that you care about things like attribution and provenance. You recognize that as ideas are passed from hand to hand, there should be an anally retentive record of these pathways. Anything short of this butt-squinching documentation about the chain of possession of ideas, concepts, quotes, theories, biographical details, historical footnotes, sparks a frenzy of academic knife sharpening that makes the average flame war on Yelp seem positively sedate by comparison. I think it's safe to say that this is the kind of crowd where if I speak the words epistemology, or tautology, or semiotics, if you listen carefully, you can hear the nerd nipples stiffening. And like most Americans, I cannot with confidence tell you what epistemology or tautology or semiotics mean. In fact, time does not permit a full taxonomy of all the shit I do not know. We'd be here all night. But academic hackles are known only to go up when there is nothing at stake, which is what separates dork fighting from the real kind. Only at Comic-Con is it possible to witness slap fights about the place of Jar Jar Binks in the Lucas canon. Likewise, it is only in the halls of academia where bitter tears are shed by the gallon over disputed punctuation in the doctoral thesis nobody will ever read. In fact, murmur of recognition. In fact, the only time you'll see historians retract their catty infighting clause is when the detail in question is agreed to be of abiding benefit to the national narrative, which in the case of Patrick Henry's famous so-called statement is clearly what's going on. First of all, let's just say it. Patrick Henry is a one-hit wonder. Gimme liberty or gimme death is the Hey Mickey or Baby Got Back of its time. A shallow and stupid tune we should all be mortified for having danced to so lustily. Unless we forget, Henry's was an era of such chronic lameness, men were expected to march to their deaths behind a dude playing the fucking fife. The trouble? Henry never published the text of his 1775 Virginia Convention speech alleged to contain this line. The version we think we know was published 17 years after his death by his biographer, who wrote it from memory, a full 24 years after the speech in question. Now, speaking as a guy that's constantly walking into my kitchen and forgetting what I came in there for, I readily concede people were smarter back then. But even so, 24 years is a long-ass time to wait before jotting down the pull quotes. But even if we accept this quote as valid, and even if we set aside the false dichotomy of liberty versus death, it's still not a contest. Look, in principle, liberty is appealing. Who among us does not think we want freedom? However, we invariably find that freedom, that liberty, so virtuous in principle, turns out to be a total nightmare. Because in practice, liberty is nothing more than the paralysis of too much choice. And this mind-cracking weight of choice squashes from us all sense of control and clarity like grapes in a wine press until we are ankle deep in an ineffectual puddle of our own waffling. And America has been in the liberty business for a long-ass time. With too much liberty, we become the fattest country in the world where the national pastime is gun violence. We elect paunchy, helmet-haired men who declare that global warming is not real from what has become the Atlantic coast of Kentucky. Men who cheat on their wives while drafting a constitutional amendment that defines rape as being between a man and a woman. Men who lobby to solve the society-smashing perils of gay marriage with drone strikes, and immediately get caught in the airport bathroom trying to give a handy to some dude in the next stall while chanting, USA, USA!
This is where liberty leads us. We can't handle it, man. Because we tend to be selfish, ignorant, short-sighted swine. No disrespect intended. We suck at ramifications. We got no patience for consequences. Complexity is super boring. We like tidy conclusions that have only the most casual relationship with the facts. As Americans, we will flatly declare things that are insane, like racism's over, we elected a black president, or Kim Kardashian is a star. And here's what the Patrick Henry lobby, the fat cats in the pocket of big patriotism, don't want you to know, brother. Death, it's the completest liberty there is. When laid beside death, is liberty not a stingy little thing, a self-seeking and small-minded little thing? Of course it is. Death is the great emancipator, because it is only death that can offer complete freedom from choosing anything, ever. It is death that grants the cessation of desire, the everlasting reprieve from longing and unrequitedness. Death alone that bestows freedom from all striving, and we, the unfulfilled, know that our striving leads only to misery and want. Only in death, my friends, are we relieved of the chaotic snarl of our hankering, the restless clot of our hungering. If you claim to cherish freedom, if you profess to love liberty, then you know that it is only in death that real freedom is possible. Only in death that true liberty abides. Counterintuitive though it may seem, you must cast your vote for death. To do otherwise constitutes cowardice of the worst sort. And to declare that your contempt for literary, and to declare, I'd have finished in ample time if I knew how to read. Okay. Judges, are you ready? Yes. Right Club audience, are you ready? Yes. All right, final decision of the night. This will be the tiebreaker between two undefeated combatants. Who among you believes that Bilal Dardai was the victor in this bout? And go! Got that, judges? Yes. No nodding of heads. Yes. That's better. Okay. And Right Club audience, who among you believes that Overlord Ian Belknap was the victor in this bout? And go! Judges confer. I like it. Judges, do you have a decision?
Winner is Ian Belknap.
Ian Belknap is the victor in this bout. The Titan Smasher. All right. That is our show for this evening. There is one more piece of business, however. For your purposes, there is but one rule of Right Club. That one rule is that you must tell 5 to 7 people about Right Club. Understood? And you're like, there's too much to remember. I can't keep track of it all. Don't. There are cards up here on each table. Please take a little stack of them. Pass them out to your friends. Monthly at the Hideout. As of January, it will also be monthly in Evanston at a place called Space, which is, yeah, it's so much nicer than the Hideout. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm gonna feel like I'm slumming back at the original home of the show. But I love the Hideout, and you should too. The advantage of the Evanston show is that it's gonna be 18 and over instead of 21 and over. So
if you eggheads have college-age people, send them up to Evanston as of January. Did you have a good time? Yes. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it. Be honest. Did you have a good time? All right. Say it with me. The one rule of Right Club is 5 to 7 people about Right Club. Thank you all for coming.